Hello everyone and welcome back to the And More Bus Videos YouTube channel. I'm And More Bus Videos, otherwise known as And More Central, depending on what day of the week and what video you're watching. And welcome back to Gainsborough Bus Station. I say back is partially ironic, because the last time that I intended to get here, the game decided that it didn't want us to get here when I drove my first run on the 107 route. The 107 is, I would argue, the more direct between Lincoln and Gainsborough. It's never been advertised like that, but it does feel like a lot more direct. It goes down the main road between Lincoln and Gainsborough, doesn't run as frequent in real life as the 100, but in-game does interwork with the 100 that it doesn't do in real life. The 100 gets the interconnect MMCs, and the 107 tends to get the Tridents, a spare MMC if there's one about, and sometimes even single-deckers, depending on what vehicles Gainsborough Depot have allocated. So, for this video, I thought we would start at Gainsborough as I did promise and do the 107 in the opposite direction. The intention being this time round is to actually do the full route. And in front of us, I thought we'd try something totally different. We have a Yellow Buses B5TL Gemini 3. I really fancied driving the B5. I thought the B5 would suit the service. So I thought, well, why not? I had a look through the liveries, and I've got quite a few Yellow Buses liveries from the now closed Bournemouth buses. So it's sort of yellow Bournemouth buses. So I thought we'd drive with this livery. For those of you in the south, you can relive a little bit of Yellow Buses. And we can also see how it fits in on the 107 and see how the B5 performs. So we get the vehicle all set up now. And we'll get my blind on. There we go. And Toski's done it the other way around to what I would expect, but still, it's, as long as it works, that's what matters. And let's get the machine logged in. Hello. So the route should approximately take 50 minutes. If it's anything like the previous time I did it, if we do quite well with traffic, it might take a little bit less than that. I mean, you all know how I've just managed in my previous video on Smarden. That is a lovely route to drive with the Solo. I cannot emphasise how much I enjoyed driving that with the Optare Solo. To such a degree, I do think there's another Smarden Optare Solo video in the planning already, purely because the bus just suits the route so well. It's just one of these things you just don't realise, and yet it just suited. I mean, don't get me wrong, I thought as a minibus it would be quite nice in the 349 and 7, but the acceleration, the power, I mean, everything, the sort of the nippy size of it, it just suited that 347 down to the ground. It really did. I'd argue it suited it a little bit better than it does the 314. The issue with the 314 is you do require the use of your front overhang that in an Optare Solo you don't have, because you've got an axle there instead. So I would argue that it suited that a little bit better. So yeah, it took us, I think, about 50 minutes to do the just over hour long route, purely because I absolutely floored it round, and then we ended up quite early going into Rye. I can thank that to all those rural roads, purely because it was them that ended up making me rather early, just near the end at Rye, because when you can floor it round them and what have you. You floor it round them if it's safe to do so, so I did. And it reminded me, in fairness, when I was sort of driving it in the game, it reminded me of my ride on TM Travel 1205. It's a video releasing on the Anmore Central channel very soon. But TM Travel Optare Solo 1205 is a Y05 plated Optare. It's a slightly older one. It doesn't really have the Allison box. I think they've replaced the Allison box. If not, I don't think it ever did have one, as it's just slightly newer than that. But I remember the time that was absolutely flawed. Went in on the 29 from Holmfirth. That was a very, very good run. The driver's last run of the day, so they weren't sticking about. So that's what it kind of reminded me of. I imagine that would be the real life reflectiveness of how we flawed that on the 347. Important to note as well, the 29 that was released as part of a video on the Anmore Central channel recently, as part of like the West Yorkshire South Yorkshire cross border sort of bus adventure thing involving two pubs. That was quite a nice day out, all in all, with Steve. And it's important to note that, as many of you have said, that 29 is now run by South Pennine. So it is a South Pennine route now. I believe it mainly uses little Mercedes Sprinters predominantly now, from my understanding. In fairness, if it matches demand, it financially makes sense, then you can't really fault them for that. There were times that the 29 could be quite busy, but again, I would say that it was never busy enough to warrant a big bus. So it is a shame that obviously we've seen the end, most of the end of solos and things like that on there, as if they are choosing Mercedes Sprinters over them, then that's probably going to be the main diet of the route now. But South Pennine do have Optare solos, they have an Optare Versa, and those vehicles can get round the route. I mean, there was days when TM Travel used to use Scania Solars and Omni-Cities on there by request. So there is always the chance that they could put a bigger bus on it. It is possible, but we just have to see. I mean, it might be the case of a certain trip a day ends up with one. If there's one that works near a school time, they might put a bigger bus on it. You never know. There's all these different parameters that might happen. But it is a route that I am hoping to sample again very, very soon. I just haven't been in Sheffield. That's been rather sad, to be fair. So I just haven't been around Sheffield, unfortunately. So yeah, it's basically a lot of it on my side at the moment has been, I've just been that busy with all sorts of different stuff that I just have not had time to sort of trek back down there. I moved out a bit ago for the year. Basically, I'll be back again hopefully soon. But it's absolutely lovely city. I don't know if you could all tell by how many videos I used to film around there and what have. And I am popping down again. Thankfully, I'm popping down to see channel star Henry. I haven't seen him for a bit. You might not have seen him for a bit on the channel either. I'm popping down, probably doing a little bit of filming while I'm down there. I'm having a bit of a catch up, and I'm seeing a few of my friends down there as well. So it should be quite nice. Should be quite a few videos. I mean, at this exact moment in time that I've filmed this, First South Yorkshire have a BZL double decker on loan, so I'm really hoping to go for a ride on that, do some filming with it, because I haven't been in any of the BZLs yet. I haven't had a chance. I nearly went on one in Hull. I've done a bit of work in Hull recently, and I was there while the BZL was on loan. But unfortunately, the constraints of work and when the vehicle was in service and what have limited when I could actually go on it. And lo and behold, the day I could go on it was the day I actually went back. So, although I did, and one positive, although I didn't photograph it because I thought it was staying a bit longer, one positive is I did see it on its last day, operated on the Beverleys on its last day. It had been on the Hessel 66s during its entire time on loan, and the last day it did 23 Beverleys and Molescroft run that I did see it on. So unfortunately I didn't get a photo, but I imagine I will see it about again. I've got a photo of the slightly longer one that Bournemouth Morbus was using. Again, didn't go on it as the day that it entered service was the day that I was leaving. I got a photo of it on its first trip out before I left, but didn't get to go on it. So the same thing basically, where it just hasn't happened, unfortunately. But I've seen them. I am hoping that the first South Yorkshire one, though, I'm cross fingers. We don't have some sort of rule of three where that disappears off as well. Cross fingers, I'll be able to get a ride on that before it sort of disappears off. So there's quite a lot I do need to see at the moment. We've sort of had this stage where at the end of summer we've just had absolutely all sorts happen. Sheffield has all of the ex-York B9s. That I want to have a little nosy at, take a few photos of. They've got the BZL that I want to have a look at. There's a load of new night services cross-bordering from Derbyshire to Sheffield. The 257 Bakewell Ladybower to Sheffield, and now runs on late night evenings. I think the last bus now leaves about 11 o'clock from Sheffield. A similar story with TM Travel, they're now running late night 218 for funding from Derbyshire County Council. Late night 55s, late night 170s. They've run for a bit, but the Sheffield ones are new. It's absolutely all sorts going on at the moment. Move over to York. York have all of their electric electroliners and GB kites coming in. That's very, very exciting. I am hoping that by the time we get over there, the single deckers have started 20 service as well. I do need to still make a visit down to Leicester. I was hoping to get the GB kites in Leicester a bit ago and just haven't had time. So Leicester's another one that's on the cards at the moment. So there's absolutely all sorts that I am hoping to get around to filming. So just bear with us on that one. So I do hopefully have a few days off coming up. So I'll be going out and travelling about and seeing all these different new things that have started very soon, all being well. We're only 2 minutes early, that's not too bad. I was worried then that we were going to be like 5 or 6 minutes early, so 2 minutes is not bad at all. It's nice the cruiser's at 56, it's not too bad, to be fair. Nice the cruisers is at 56. So yeah, there is absolutely all sorts going on. I must say that the York Electric livery that has also now been adopted by Norwich, so presumably is going to be the livery that, unless it's an area that they've been specified a livery colour, like in Leicester everything going green, I imagine the purple and silvery grey livery is going to be reflected on most of these new GB kite singles and double deckers. So it'd be very exciting if that is the case. Very, very exciting, because I like the livery. I think it looks absolutely amazing. Different style maquette. On them, they seem to have their own unique style of maquette. But their livery seems very, very nice. So, and it's also quite nice for Sheffield to be trying out an electric bus. I mean, if they do end up purchasing any of them, you never know, they might do. It'll be the first new buses for First South Yorkshire, I believe, since the streetlights, to which quite a few of them have now gone off lease. So I can't think of anything else. Apart from those SL16s that they've had new. I could be missing something large, but yeah, it was the SL16 street lights and the SM65 street decks. They were the last. Oh no, tell a lie. The 18 plates. There we go. I knew I'd forgotten something. The 18 plate. I was still right with street lights and street decks, but the HEV ones. So they were the first new buses for First South Yorkshire since the street decks and the street light HEVs, and they were very popular. There were also the vehicles that were forcibly purchased for sort of the contracts in South Yorkshire. They had to buy them alongside Stagecoach, who bought some HEV street lights. So yeah, it'd be the first new vehicles for 5 or 6 years if they get some, and if they do get a big enough batch to potentially replace some of the B5TLs, that I would imagine would be the case, they'll be the biggest batch of vehicles since the street lights in 2013. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Very, very interesting. But at the moment, Sheffield is an interesting place. It seems to be so multicoloured with all of the different vehicles that they're getting in transferred. They're getting even more Eclipses as well. I believe the remaining Greater Manchester Eclipses should be going over to Sheffield very soon. So that's going to be exciting. The ones that I'm particularly looking forward to is the 695, 37, 38 and 39, the original ex-Gosport Eclipse branded Eclipse 2s, purely because the interior on them is just absolutely amazing. Really, really nice interiors on them. I don't know how much branding they've still got. I don't know if Greater Manchester's taken all the branding off, but they did used to have the Eclipse names inside that I thought was pretty cool, so it'd be interesting if that is still the case. So, I mean, there's that. Then we can't forget as well all the contract changes. We've got TM Travel. I'm getting myself quite excited for my visit now. TM Travel have got all of the reinstated 32, the revised X74. Carphone still run some services. They run the free, but they run some late afternoon ones to compensate for the loss of the A1 and the X74 that obviously TM Travel have combined. They've also got the 35A, so they've got the 35A route as well, that runs up in Chapeltown that I wouldn't mind visiting. Then South Pennine run the 181 that I haven't seen any photos of yet. I haven't seen any photos of that 181, so I'm hoping to see it at some point, to be fair, because I've seen absolutely no photos. So we've got some time here. I can't take my screenshot again here because I did that for the last one. So we'll do it so we'll leave a minute late. There we go. So we had 5 minutes sat there, but I've just moved the time forward purely because I can't imagine you all want to sit there, really. So let's try and get... Oh, without the trees. And you say the phrase without the trees. So we'll turn left. Even though I'm pretty certain that the lighting won't be as good, but we'll see. We will see. It's not too bad, to be fair. I can roll with that. I can roll with that. That'll do. So this will also be, if I've done my calculations correctly, this will be the last video that's out before my last OMSI one, out before my Halifax Heritage Bus Day, that's taking place on Sunday, so Sunday the 17th of September. We've got 3 buses running between 10, buses start at 10 o'clock, and the first one leaves at 10 o'clock. And the last runs arrive back just after 5 o'clock. We've got a nice variety of vehicles booked in at the moment. I'm revealing what is booked in currently on the Halifax Bus Day Facebook page. So if you type in Halifax Heritage Bus Day into Facebook, you will find the page. We've got some very, very exciting vehicle entries this year. Safe to say we've smashed it out of the park compared to the usual sort of variety that we get. And we've always had a nice variety of buses every year. It's always been varied. We've had some of the regulars, but we've always had new vehicles each year. It's never been the same old buses. This year is definitely a unique year. I'm not spoiling any of the vehicles that are coming along because I am revealing them slowly but surely on the Facebook page, most of which by the time this video is out will be released, but there is also some surprises for the day that we're not revealing till the actual morning of the event. So there is a nice variety there, definitely worth coming along. We've got all sorts of vehicles from preservationists, as well as bus operators, local and a bit further afield. There's feeder bus services running from Barnsley, from Wakefield, from Glossop, from Holmfirth, Huddersfield, just to name a few, up to the event. So there is absolutely all sorts. It's very, very exciting. And worth coming along if you've got the day off. There'll be programmes at just £4 that will support the running of the event, support what we do. And they'll include all your timetables in, all your duty allocations, ideas for where to go, a nice selection of artwork from the amazing Halifax Art Society, who had a very, very specialist theme this year, that I must say does look very good. Very, very nice artwork. Again, not spoiling it too much. So we've got quite a lot of stuff planned, so it's very, very exciting. So yeah, make sure you do come along. It'll be worth it, not just for the event itself, but for the scenery that we offer on the services, the photo opportunities offered on the services. You get to purchase yourself a lovely programme souvenir to take back as a memory for the day. You'll get to see me about. There's going to be an exciting unveiling ceremony as well, taking place throughout the day, and times on that to be confirmed. So there's absolutely all sorts to look forward to. It's very, very exciting. So yeah, make sure you come along. It's going to be the biggest one we've ever done. So hopefully the people numbers reflect that as well. So yeah, it's all very, very exciting at the moment. I mean, it's bus events, buses. We seem to have found that with bus events, for some reason, they all seem to have migrated to September. I've always run my Halifax event. Oh, come on, easy brakes. There we go. Didn't want to work then at first. That was quite scary. But I've always run the do in September to be out of the way of the main events in August. When we started in 2019, there was a load of events that used to happen local in West Yorkshire in August. We also had to avoid big do's such as Showbus that no longer take place. And now quite a lot of these local events don't happen. Showbus doesn't happen. It's definitely a changed event scene. So all the events that seem to still be with us, they all started around the same time that mine did, and all started in September because we all saw an opening there. I'm pretty much the only ones that are left. So hopefully next year we'll be moving to August. I'd say hopefully. I've already got a date in mind to move the event to next year. So we'll be moving to August next year to make most of the, hopefully, if all the weather's well, hopefully nice British summer weather, hopefully. So that's kind of the thinking, and we'll move it to there. It'll also be moved there for personal reasons, because I won't be able to run it in September next year, or I believe the year after. So moving it to August seems like a pretty good idea. We'll also hopefully be able to work a lot better with the bus operators that support us as well, so they will be able to come along without sort of obviously having issues potentially with driving hours and vehicle availability and stuff like that. So it should work a little bit more in our favour, and will obviously provide a little bit of variety in the events calendar as well. So it should all be good, all being well. So but yeah, we've definitely smashed it out of the park with the vehicles this year. It shocked me how well we've done, and with the buses that we've got. It's hats off to quite a lot of my friends. I don't know how many of which will be watching these videos. I know quite a lot watch the Amwell Central stuff, but it's hats off to them. Without them, we wouldn't have achieved what is lined up to be the best vehicle attendance lineup I've ever seen for Halifax, and I would even argue ever seen for a number of events in the north. Are you wanting the bus? No, bus, no, bus. No. But it's one of the best lineup of vehicles I've seen for an event in the north in quite a number of years. So it is going to be good. Again, the support of everyone to achieve that is the only reason that we've got it. So it's been really, really appreciated of them. Oh, we've actually got a person waiting just as I speed up to leave the village.
Morning, sweetie.
We are 5 minutes early, so I'm just going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. I mean, there's nobody else coming along, but I'd rather be running a bit late. And it is the high street anyway, so it's possibly the best to wait time there, even though it is a narrow high street and we're parked on a bend, but we ignore all of that, and we ignore all of those elements. RRB is rail replacement bus. I wonder if they're going to be introducing some rail replacement routes on the map. Mr. Moose, if you are watching, and I imagine you might be, you might be somewhere watching, because you do tend to get in touch with me when you've got a new map update. So shout out to you, because you know how much I love your maps. And we got a rail replacement coming along. So, I mean, that would be quite cool, to be fair. I mean, if we can get a livery, like for the Olympian, for example, we could get a two-way travel livery for the Olympian. I mean, yes, they were predominantly city bus operators back in the day, but if we could get, I mean, even the Spectra, they have Spectras, for goodness sake. We could get two-way livery for the Spectra, we could get two-way livery for the Olympians, and just run them, and two-way livery for Citaro as well, because I do run Citaros. Yes, I do roughly keep up to date with their fleet. Because I saw it a few times when I was working around Scunthorpe. Because my job, I don't know if you can tell, my job's taking me all over the place. But yeah, it's they have Citaros, they have the Spectras, they used to have the city buses. I mean, you could, as I say, masquerade them as Olympians, stuff like that. So yeah, if we got some two-way travel liveries sorted, we could definitely utilise those vehicles on a rail replacement locally, or potentially Johnson's. We could brand up the Catano Levante and Johnson's, use that on rail replacement. That might be quite cool as well. I mean, they don't have Levantes, but it'd still be pretty cool, as I've seen them on rail replacement before. Try and find some vehicles that Grayscroft run, although they're predominantly Scania Omnicities, and we don't have that released yet. I'm just going to pull in because I forgot I'd set an alarm on my phone that you might be able to hear in the background, so just bear with me. There we go. I just heard the bleeping in the background. I don't know how well you heard it, but I've switched off my phone alarms. So there we go. So yeah, it definitely could work as a rail replacement route, something like that. I mean, I do need to drive the rail replacement route in Yorkshire again. That might be my next video, to be fair. And I need to actually pick something a bit different on it. I haven't decided what, but something a little bit different. I think will be quite nice for that. I've got a few vehicles in mind, and I'll just have to pick one out that takes me fancy. So it's also been a while since I've been to Lincoln in real life, actually. I do need to do another visit. I need to sort of settle the score with Lincoln, as Lincoln won last time. We had a little bit of a falling out, did me and Lincoln. So because of the poor weather, there was a football match on, there was horrendous service cancellations due to the unfortunate driver shortages at the time. So, and the pubs were full. So even when I'd had enough, there was nowhere that I could go and sit down out of the way and wait for my train back. So it was just a poor day all in all, unfortunately. That these things do happen. They do happen, but it wasn't particularly ideal. So I do want to settle the score there. I don't think there's as many older vehicles as there was. There might be quite a few Tridents there, but I don't believe any of the darts are left. I think East Midlands have got shut of their darts now. If that is the case, it is a shame, but these things do happen. Nothing we can do. So I do think they've got, I don't know how many darts they've got running around Lincoln. I don't think they've got any, but I'm sure that they still have a couple running around Worksop, and I'm pretty certain Worksop's the last place to run them in the East Midlands division. So I do believe Worksop does have about three or four of them left, if they are still in service. Although again, it has been a while since I've been round there, so I don't quite know if that's the case. Because the ones at Gainsborough are now long gone. Scunthorpe's now got rid of theirs. The ones that were on loan to Grimsby have gone. I believe the ones in Lincoln have gone. So, as I say, there's certainly not many of them left. As I do like my Dennis darts. I do have a soft spot for the Stagecoach spec Dennis darts. I always thought they were little really nippy cool vehicles. I really did. Reliability can be very hit and miss on them. Chassis condition can be hit and miss on them. Bodywork can be hit and miss on them. But when you get a good motor that works, it's nice. It's just unfortunately with them, they were built with a shelf life on them. That means trying to run them beyond said shelf life can prove quite difficult, unfortunately. So that's why quite a lot of operators aren't purchasing them now. That and the London effect, where quite a lot of E200s are coming off now. So a lot of them going for E200s, because when E200s is only ever so slightly more expensive, because there's a load of them, companies are trying to get shut of them in sale dealerships. So they're only ever so slightly more expensive. They feel like newer vehicles. Sometimes they're roughly the same age. Sometimes they're a bit younger, and they feel like newer vehicles. The spec on them is a bit more passenger friendly. The bodywork looks a little bit more sleek and passenger friendly. There's more parts going for them, and operators like Yellow Buses, for example, are shutting shops, so their E200s were going off cheap. Then little operators are going to choose them instead, because it just makes sense. So that's why you're not finding as many darts going to operators at the moment. Purely because we are seeing, obviously, a trend in what's up for grabs. And that is very much fueled by what's coming out of London. I mean, we've got B9s coming out of London now. And as a result of that, B9s are going to start coming off outside of London now as well. So London tends to be, whatever comes off in London, you tend to then find will come off elsewhere very soon, and will then usher out older vehicles. Sometimes vehicles from London are cheap, sometimes they're a little bit more pricey. Depends on the type of vehicle, depends on how young it is, as sometimes they do sell off pretty brand new vehicles, like street deck, stuff like that. They have sold them off in the past, especially if the demo vehicles have sold them, as some operators in London do not like running demo vehicles. If they've got one of a type of bus, they don't like running them, so they will sell them. So it is very much each to their own with these things, and very much each to their own. It's a very sort of interesting change to the market, and I wouldn't be surprised very soon if we see London spec streetlights up for grabs at the moment. I think London spec streetlights will be the main batch of vehicles next to come off. Because we've obviously had the E200s. There are still some in service, don't get me wrong, but I think these streetlights will be the next ones to really come off. So that's one person. We do have a second person on board, so presumably they're getting off at the bus station, or I hope they are, because I'm not going much further, so they'll be slightly disappointed if not. There we go. So we'll pull into the stand to let them off, and then we'll park up on the back wall. So there we go. So we were too early at points. I mean, here, for example, we've ended up here 8 minutes early. 7 minutes 49. Didn't realise we were that early, but I mean, we waited time at main timing points, and if there's nobody waiting for the bus, there's not particularly much I can do. It's not the best parking in the world, but it'll do. And there we go. So that's the 107 route finally fully completed. Just looking at how long it's taken us, I would argue that's also record time. I mean, in fairness, we did only pick up like 2 people. It was a lunchtime run, and we only picked up like 2 people. So that's possibly why it's taken that, it's been that quick. The driving can't have been too bad either, because one customer that jumped on at Gainsborough only just jumped off at Lincoln Station, so the driving can't be that bad either. So yeah, we did it in about 35 minutes instead of the advertised 50. So yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have done, do be sure to click that like button so that more people can find it and enjoy like you have. And if you haven't already, do be sure to subscribe to the And More Bus Videos YouTube channel for more content like this from the simulation section, as well as an archive of nearly 6,000 backseat and engine-focused public transport videos from the UK and beyond. For buses, trams, trains and more, there's something on there for everyone, with additional 21 videos added each week, and alongside the 2 OMSI 2 or other transport simulator videos that you see as well. Do go and check out my main channel and more central for other bits and bobs, and if you want to already, do go and check out the Halifax Heritage Bus Day on Facebook for more details of that event that we discussed earlier in the video. Once again though, I would like to thank you all for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will see you all in the next video, mate. Goodbye for now. Bye!